Donald Trump may soon be facing even more investigations than he currently is, because the January 6th committee, so those looking into the insurrection, have said that they believe that former President Trump, quote, may have engaged in criminal acts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election, according to newly filed court documents. So where did this come from? Well, they were filed in response to attempts by one of Trump's lawyers, John Eastman, who we've spoken about before, to fight a subpoena. They argue that a judge should reject Eastman's attempts to block the subpoena, ordering him to hand over documents, as the normally well-protected privilege between a lawyer and their client, in this case Eastman and Trump, cannot be used if the lawyer and his client are attempting to cover up or engage in a crime. So they sort of have to do this to get access to those documents, and to do it, they need to make the case that there was a crime being covered up. And in particular, in this case, that they knew that they were covering up some sort of crime, and they believe that they have that. And it really comes down to, in addition to some other evidence, one particular email from Eastman to a lawyer for Vice President Mike Pence, where Eastman wrote, "I implore you to consider one more relatively minor violation of the Electoral Count Act to adjourn for 10 days to allow the legislatures to finish their investigations into non-existent voter fraud." They say Eastman knew what he was proposing that it would violate the law, but he nonetheless urged the vice president to take those actions. So that gets into the whole alternate slates and trying to get new votes in that would allow them to overturn the results. But Eastman apparently knew and was willing to communicate via email that that would be a violation of law, but so what, do it anyway. And if that's the case, do they have that normal sort of protection? We're gonna have to see, but what do you make of it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of wild that it's like, I mean, for me, any January 6th, anything, it always just kind of blows my mind that it's 2022. It's 2022. I feel like all of this should have been done like a year ago, right? Like all of this should have, like they should have been like pressing a little bit harder on all of these things. And because at a certain point, we're just running up against the clock. We're just running up against the clock to deal with this. And like these people, like the right wingers that believe all of this nonsense, the right wingers, they're trying to like become like election judges and things like that. And they're trying to like, run for office all over the country. And the longer that we take, the more likely it is that new people will get into office that will help protect these people from accountability. And that is just, I feel like there's just a lack of a sense of urgency when it comes to dealing with all of these.
Yeah, I think you are 100% right. I worry about that too. And I worry that the January 6th commission even sort of understands a bit of that and is doing what they're doing not to achieve the goals that they're saying. So they go on to say that there's a good faith basis for concluding that the president and members of his campaign engaged in a criminal conspiracy to defraud the United States, and in particular involved in obstructing an official proceeding of Congress. So they say, okay, we want to get them on these crimes. Do they? Like, are they operating with the swiftness, the efficiency that implies that it is important that they do this? Or is it, again, and honestly, this is what some of the right wingers are saying, sort of trying to draw this out in advance of the election because they know the Democrats aren't going to be campaigning on anything? I don't know. I'm not one of those people, so I just get to sit here being frustrated that this is one of many ongoing investigations that it is taking absolutely forever to get even incremental updates on. As with, for instance, Matt Gaetz, who they've been investigating now for like 14 months. They've had his phone. I would love to know if he did it or not. And if he didn't, tell us that too. So I share some of your frustration.
Yeah, 100%. It's just like they really just need to pick up the pace. They need to talk with a sense of urgency. And if this is what Democrats really want to campaign on, then they should actually do something about it, right? Because if they're not going to vote for the bills that we want them to vote for to actually make a difference, they should at least deal with January 6th.
Exactly. Yeah, because that is serious. It might be sort of a campaign scapegoat from their point of view, but for us, I'm very worried about what it implies. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.